They marched into the mist and were never seen again. A Roman legion, one of the finest in the empire's long and brutal history, simply disappeared. No graves, no survivors, no clear record of their end. Legio non Hispana, the 9th Spanish Legion, one of Rome's oldest, most decorated, and most feared military units, gone. Some say they were slaughtered in the wilds of Britain. Others believe they were transferred quietly, and quietly erased. A few believe the truth is far stranger. This is not just the story of a legion. It's the story of power, silence, and how history itself can be lost to time. This is the 9th Legion, Rome's lost army. To understand the 9th, we must return to the dying days of the Roman Republic. Julius Caesar, yes, that Caesar, first raised the 9th Legion in Spain around 58 BC, during his campaigns in Gaul. They were young, unproven, and ambitious, but under Caesar's banner, they became battle-hardened veterans. They fought at the siege of Gergovia against the fierce Gallic chieftain Vercingetorix. They marched in the epic Battle of Alesia, where Caesar's strategy turned defeat into eternal glory. The 9th wasn't just another sword in the Roman arsenal. They were elite. After Caesar's death, the 9th remained loyal to his legacy. They backed his heir, Octavian, later Augustus. In the wars that followed, they fought against Brutus and Cassius at Philippi, and later against Mark Antony and Cleopatra. From the Republic's death throes, they emerged into the imperial age as seasoned survivors. Under Augustus, the 9th was reformed and redeployed to the furthest edges of Rome's ever-expanding frontier. Their name, Legio non Hispana, reflects their early Spanish roots, but their battlefield, everywhere. They helped pacify Hispania. Then they were sent north, to Gaul, to Germania, and eventually to Britannia. They marched with Claudius in the invasion of Britain in 43 AD. It was the ultimate test of Roman might: brutal terrain, endless rain, and tribes that fought like wolves in the forest. But the 9th excelled. They crushed uprisings, built roads, and established forts. They weren't just conquerors, they were enforcers, builders, occupiers. In 60 AD, they faced their darkest trial yet. Queen Boudica of the Iceni tribe led a fiery revolt against Roman rule. Her army, tens of thousands strong, burned Roman towns to the ground, including Londinium. The 9th, stationed nearby, was ordered to intercept her. They marched in confidence and were massacred. Boudica's warriors surrounded and slaughtered nearly the entire force. Only a few cavalry escaped. For most legions, this would have been the end. But Rome rebuilt the 9th, reinforced it, sent it back into the fire. Why? Because they were too valuable to lose. But scars like that don't heal. Not truly. They linger, in memory, and in fate. By 108 AD, the 9th was stationed in York, known then as Eboracum. Inscriptions from the time show the 9th rebuilding and expanding the fortress walls. But just a few years later, the record goes dark. No mention of their redeployment, no honors, no tombs, no scrolls. They are simply gone. The next we hear of York's garrison. A different legion is stationed there. The 9th had vanished. How does a 5,000-man force simply disappear from the world's most meticulous empire? The most popular and haunting theory is this: the 9th was annihilated. Some believe they were sent north, into the wilds of Caledonia. modern Scotland, to crush rebellious tribes. But the highlands were unforgiving. Narrow passes, deep forests, brutal cold, perfect for ambush. If the ninth was trapped, surrounded, no one would return. No messengers, no artifacts, nothing. The Roman Empire was known for its pride, admitting a total defeat, especially in the distant fog of Britannia, might have been unthinkable. So they buried it, not the bodies, the memory. But if they were massacred, where are the bones? To this day, no mass grave linked to the ninth has ever been found. Some historians reject the massacre theory. They point to inscriptions from Nijmegen, Netherlands, that suggest the ninth was later stationed there. Roman brick stamps bearing Legio 9th Hispana have been found in the region, dating to the early 120s AD. There's even evidence the ninth was involved in fort building there, hardly the actions of a destroyed unit. Some even claim fragments of the ninth were sent to the eastern provinces, Judea, Cappadocia, or Syria. Veteran legions were often moved to hotspots quietly, especially after setbacks. Could Rome have reshuffled the ninth without fanfare to avoid embarrassment? Maybe they didn't vanish. Maybe they just slipped away. The Roman bureaucracy was vast, but not flawless. Many military records from the early 2nd century have been lost, burned, or simply never written. But there's another possibility: intentional silence. What if the ninth disobeyed, mutinied, deserted? If they embarrassed the emperor, perhaps Hadrian, they could have been quietly retired, erased from monuments, names struck from lists. Roman politics was ruthless. Emperors rewrote history to suit their legacy. A legion's failure was a stain not just on the army, but on imperial glory. And so, silence. Despite centuries of digging, no definitive answer has surfaced. Archaeologists have uncovered camps, tools and coins from the era, but never a battlefield soaked in 9th Legion blood. But they have uncovered oddities. A ruined Roman fort near the Scottish Highlands, abandoned quickly, with signs of chaos. Mass-produced funeral urns, empty, unused. A missing link in the list of known legions. Sometimes, history speaks not in words, but in what's not there. The mystery of the ninth has inspired novels, films, and fantasies. The Eagle of the Ninth, a best-selling book, imagined a son searching for his father's lost standard. The film Centurion turned the theory into blood-soaked action. Gamers, writers, historians, all enthralled by the same question: what really happened to Rome's lost army? Because when a legend vanishes into the mist, imagination takes its place. Do you believe the ninth was wiped out, massacred, and covered up? Or were they simply redeployed, buried by time and bureaucracy? Comment your theory below. Your voice adds to the legend. The story of the 9th Legion isn't just a military riddle. It's about memory, and how even the most powerful systems can forget, or choose to forget. Rome controlled half the known world. Its legions were symbols of dominance. But dominance doesn't make you eternal. One storm, one bad order, one moment of silence, and a whole legion can be lost to history. It reminds us that legacy is fragile, and what we don't know often speaks louder than what we do. They marched north, into mist and myth. They may have died in the heathered hills of Caledonia. They may have rebuilt roads in distant provinces. They may have lived, fought, and died forgotten. But their disappearance echoes louder than their victories, because the Ninth Legion was more than swords and shields. They were a warning. Even the mightiest can vanish, and they were nearly lost to time.